A desperate plea, the distant outpost of Erebus Base, was used to the unexpected. Situated on the fringes of Earth's fledgling interstellar domain, it often played host to the lost, the curious, and the desperate. But the bedraggled group of aliens that emerged from the battered freighter were unlike any Captain Nara Singh had seen before. Their mottled gray skin hung loose on bony frames, their slitted emerald eyes dull with exhaustion. Draped in tattered cloaks, they shuffled down the ramp with the last vestiges of their strength, then collapsed to their knees before Nara and her security team. One of the aliens, with a crimson sash denoting rank, raised a trembling hand. "Please," it rasped in halting, accented English. "We beg asylum." Nara stepped forward cautiously, lowering her plasma rifle a fraction. Up close, the creatures looked pitiful, not threatening. "I'm Captain Singh, commander of this outpost. Who are you? Where have you come from?" The alien bowed its elongated head. "I am Xyloth, once High Counselor of the Crevely. We fled our homeworld on the other side of the Argos Rift, seeking to escape destruction at the hands of the Borg Krill." The Borg Krill. The name was unfamiliar to Nara. Who are they? Xyloth shuddered. "A race of cyborgs, half organic, half machine. Conquerors and enslavers. They sweep across the stars like a plague, subjugating or exterminating all in their path. Our people fought them, and lost. We are all that remain of a civilization that once spanned 100 systems." Nara glanced at her second-in-command, Sergeant Ramsey, seeing her own shock mirrored in his eyes. An empire that spanned 100 systems, brought low by an even greater threat. This had ominous implications for Earth's budding expansion. "Why come to us?" Nara asked. "We're a young species, just beginning to explore beyond our own star. Surely there are others in the galaxy better positioned to help you." Xyloth's eyes brightened with a flicker of desperate hope. "The Borg Krill fear you." Nara blinked. "They what?" The alien nodded vigorously. "Oh yes, they have heard of your kind. Warriors of unmatched ferocity, ingenious builders, tenacious survivors. It is said that when your species commits to a cause, the galaxy itself trembles." The human team exchanged incredulous looks, half disbelieving, half flattered by the apparent reputation that preceded them. Nara wasn't sure how much stock to put in the alien's claims, but there was no denying the raw desperation in his tone. "We have no great fleets or armies," Xyloth continued urgently, "but we have knowledge, technology, the crystalline power cores that drove our empire at its height, quantum-entangled communicators, neutronium armor forging. Take it, all of it, and in return grant us shelter. Protect us from the Borg Krill." It was an extraordinary offer. The technologies Xyloth described were beyond anything Earth had yet developed. They could accelerate human advancement by decades, even centuries. But it would also paint an unmistakable target on humanity's back if the Borg Krill were as dangerous as claimed. Nara made a snap decision. "Let's get you and your people to the infirmary. You're safe for now. I need to contact Earth Command. A decision like this is above my pay grade. But I promise you this, whatever happens, we will treat you with compassion." Relief settled on the alien leader like a blanket. "That is all we hoped for. Thank you, Captain Singh. May your species prosper. I can't speak for all of Earth," Nara said softly. "But here, now, you have a friend." She turned to her team. "Let's get them some food and medical care. And raise command on the Ansible. The brass needs to hear this." As the humans gently carried the aliens into their compound, Nara lifted her eyes to the stars. The galaxy had suddenly become a lot more complicated and dangerous. Humanity decides. The debate raged across Earth for weeks. On vid screens and in government chambers, talking heads and politicians argued furiously over the fate of the Crevely refugees. Some called for caution, urging against interference in unknown galactic conflicts. Hardliners shouted for the refugees' knowledge to be extracted and their ships sent back into space. Idealists pleaded for compassion, saying humanity had a moral imperative to help those in need. At the United Nations Assembly in Geneva, the leaders of Earth's superpowers gathered for the final fateful deliberation. In a secure chamber deep beneath the historic Palais des Nations complex, the Secretary-General called them to order. "You've all seen the intelligence reports," she began gravely. "These Borg krill seem to present an existential threat, not just to the Crevely, but potentially to Earth itself. Our strategists say it is only a matter of time before they reach our space." The American president leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "All the more reason to hunker down and focus on our own defenses. We can't afford to antagonize an empire that spans 100 star systems." The Chinese premier shook his head. "You assume we have a choice in this matter. From what the refugees have told us, the Borg krill will not abide any potential challengers. If we don't draw a line here, we will be fighting them over our own worlds soon enough. We should take the technologies the Crevely are offering and fortify our borders," the Russian president said bluntly. "Let the rest of the galaxy burn, as long as Earth remains secure." The Indian Prime Minister cast him a reproachful look. "And doom millions, perhaps billions of sentients to death or servitude in the process. Is that what we as a species stand for?" The leaders fell into a brooding silence. The weight of the moment pressed down on them all. A decision that would chart the course of human history for generations. At last, the Secretary-General cleared her throat. "We are no longer the fractious, isolated nations of old," she said quietly. "In this new era of space travel, we represent not just our own countries, but our entire species, our planet. What we choose today will define humanity in the eyes of the galaxy." She stood, planting her hands on the glossy conference table. "I say we make our position clear. Humanity will not cower in the face of tyranny. We will not abandon those who come to us seeking shelter. If the Borg krill want a fight, we will give them one." The Chinese premier rose to join her, his eyes glinting with resolve. "Agreed. The line must be drawn here. This far, no further." One by one, the other leaders stood, some reluctant, some determined, but all recognizing the necessity of the moment. A murmur of assent rumbled through the room. The American president was the last to rise. He tugged at his collar, then gave a brisk nod. "Very well. We'll bring the proposal to a vote in the General Assembly. But I'll tell my ambassador to vote in favor. May God help us all." "It's not God we need now," the Secretary-General said grimly. "It's the strength and unity of the human race. Transmit a message to Captain Singh on Erebus base. Tell her to grant the Crevely permanent sanctuary." She turned to the window, where the glittering lights of Geneva stretched out into the night. Somewhere beyond those lights, beyond the veil of Earth's atmosphere, the galaxy awaited, vast, dangerous, and brimming with possibilities. "And send a message to this Borg krill empire, on all frequencies," she added softly. Tell them that humanity is drawing a line in the stars, and we will defend it with our last breath." The cyborg threat. The Borg krill warfleet slid out of hyperspace above Erebus base like an oil slick, a phalanx of jagged black ships bristling with weapons. On the command deck of the largest dreadnought, Overlord Krulzak brooded on his throne of fused cortical circuitry, his half-mechanical face lit by the sickly green glow of the neutrino cannons powering up along the ship's flanks. He twitched his skeletal metal fingers, and a flickering hologram of Counselor Zyloff sprang up from the transmutation days. The alien's features were distorted by fear as he beheld his former tormentor. "Zyloff," Krulzak rasped, his voice a grating fusion of organic vocal cords and synthetic voice box. "Did you really think you could escape the grasp of the Borg krill?" The alien counselor quivered but lifted his chin. "We have found a new home and powerful protectors. You have no dominion here, cyborg." "Protectors?" Krulzak's faceplates clicked in a macabre imitation of laughter. "You mean the humans, that mooling infant of a race, still new to the stars." His ocular sensors glowed a baleful red. "They are insects before the might of the Borg krill. You underestimate them at your peril, Xyloth warned. Krilzak's metal claw tightened, and the hologram fizzed and vanished. The Overlord swiveled to face his subordinates, lesser cyborg nobles wired into the Dreadnought's command matrix. "Open a channel to the human base," he snarled. "Let us see what these so-called protectors are made of." The view screen flickered, then resolved into an image of the human commander, a female, her brown skin and close-cropped black hair set off by the sharp lines of her blue uniform. She gazed back at Krilzak with a steady, unflinching stare. "This is Captain Nara Singh of Erebus Base," she said crisply. "You are violating Earth Union territory. Identify yourself and state your intentions." "I am Overlord Krilzak of the Borg Krill Empire," the cyborg growled. "I have come for the Krevali refugees you shelter. Surrender them, and your insignificant outpost may be spared." Nara Singh raised an eyebrow. "The Krevali are under our protection. We do not hand over those who have sought asylum with us." Krilzak's facial plates contorted in fury. "Insolent primate. You dare defy the Borg Krill. We have exterminated civilizations 1,000 times older and more advanced than yours. You are nothing before us." The human captain leaned forward, her eyes hardening. "Hear me, Overlord Krilzak. Humanity is young, yes, but we have faced down tyrants and monsters before. We do not cower before bullies, no matter how powerful they believe themselves to be." She straightened, hands clasped behind her back. "This is your one and only warning. Withdraw now or face the consequences. Humanity stands with the Krevali, and against you." Krilzak surged to his feet, his frame sparking with rage. "Then burn with them, human. All cannons, fire. Wipe this pitiful outpost from the cosmos." The Dreadnought shuddered as its neutrino cannons unleashed their destructive energies, engulfing the view screen in a flood of green fire. The cyborg Overlord settled back onto his throne, certain that the next sensor sweep would show nothing but glowing debris where the human base had once been. But as the flames dissipated, Erebus Base still stood, and it was no longer alone. A flotilla of human ships had shimmered into existence around it, sleek in silver, shields glittering with refracted energy. They moved with purpose, sliding into formation between the Borg Krill fleet and their target. On the lead ship, a polished blue-white cruiser emblazoned with the Earth Union sigil, Captain Nara Singh stood from her command chair. Her eyes blazed with righteous determination as she opened a fleet-wide channel. "All Earth ships, this is Captain Singh. Engage the enemy. Defend Erebus Base and the Krevali with your lives." She paused, her voice ringing with conviction. "Remember what we fight for today. Freedom, compassion, the fundamental rights of all sentient beings. Let history record that when the call came, humanity answered. For Earth." The chorus of voices echoed back over the calm, determined and defiant. For Earth. As one, the human fleet surged forward, weapons unleashing torrents of plasma and missiles, shields shimmering against the onslaught of Borg Krill fire. The battle for the soul of the galaxy had begun, and humanity would not back down. Wrath of Terra. The void of space blazed with the fury of clashing starships, a maelstrom of plasma beams, fusion missiles, and crackling energy fields. The sleek silver shapes of the Earth fleet darted and wove between the hulking black Borg Krill dreadnoughts, their nimble attacks belying the power of their advanced weapons. On the bridge of the EUS Indefatigable, Captain Nara Singh gripped the arms of her command chair as the deck shuddered beneath her feet. A nearby explosion sparkled across the view screen, the fiery death of one of her ships. But even as it faded, the remaining Earth vessels pressed their attack with renewed ferocity. "Keep the pressure on," Nara barked, her eyes darting across the tactical displays. Pegasus and Titan squadrons, focus fire on the lead dreadnought's shield generators. Thermopylae Squadron, screen the troop transports. We need to get our Marines aboard their command ship. The Earth ships whirled in a deadly ballet, lances of searing blue-white plasma scourging, the dull metal hulls of the Borg-Krill battleships. On the Indefatigable's main screen, the cyborg overlord Krillzak's face contorted with rage as his ship bucked under the impact of the human weapons. "You insects," he howled, spittle flecking his metallic jaws. "You dare stand against the might of the Borg-Krill. We have crushed 1,000 races greater than you." Nera's lips curled in a tight smile. "You made a grave mistake, Overlord. You thought we would cower. You thought we would flee." Her eyes flashed with a fierce, implacable resolve. "But you don't know humanity. We do not bow to tyrants. We break them." As if on cue, a thunder crack of fractured energy split the void as the Borg-Krill dreadnought's shields collapsed under the concentrated fire of the Earth ships. Nera leaned forward, her command ringing out across the fleet channel. "Breach in the enemy flagship's defenses. All marine transports, converge and board. Take the ship, take their warlord." Overlord Krillzak's eyes widened as a swarm of smaller human craft arsed toward his damaged vessel, disgorging heavily armed troopers in powered armor onto his hull. The cyborg's face twisted with something akin to fear as he realized the full depth of his miscalculation. In the corridors of the Borg-Krill ship, the human marines stormed through flickering emergency lighting and the screech of damage alarms. They moved with practiced efficiency, leapfrogging cover positions and laying down withering suppressive fire as they advanced. The Borg-Krill defenders, half-merged with the ship's systems, put up stiff resistance. Arcs of plasma sizzled from wall-mounted turrets, and swarms of blade-limbed combat drones boiled out of side passages. But the humans were relentless, pushing forward with grim determination, their powered armor shrugging off the worst of the cyborg fire. At the vanguard of the marine assault, Lieutenant Jaya Verma blasted a pair of drones with her plasma rifle, then dropped into a skidding slide under a crackling energy beam. She came up firing, stitching a line of explosive rounds into a Borg-Krill hardpoint until it detonated in a shower of sparks and shrapnel. "Push forward," she rallied her squad. "We need to reach the command deck before they can bring their internal defenses fully online." Step by hard-fought step, the humans battled their way deeper into the dreadnought, leaving a trail of shattered cyborg bodies and smoldering wreckage in their wake. They blew through sealed blast doors with shaped charges, hacked into the ship's systems to sow chaos and confusion, and unleashed volleys of EMP grenades to fry the Borg-Krill's cybernetic enhancements. At last, Lieutenant Verma and her squad burst onto the command deck, weapons leveled at the towering figure of Overlord Krillzak. The cyborg warlord rose from his throne, his metal talons crackling with lethal energies. "Fools," he thundered. "You only hasten your own demise." Verma raised her rifle, its muzzle pointing straight at Krillzak's skull-like faceplate. "Overlord Krillzak, in the name of Earth and the Galactic Union, you are under arrest for war crimes and crimes against sentience. Surrender or be destroyed." The cyborg threw back his head in a fearsome bellow. "The Borg-Krill do not surrender." His arm lashed out, a jagged blade unsheathing from his forearm. But Verma was faster. Her plasma rifle hummed and kicked, and a lance of star-hot energy pierced Krillzak's chestplate, burning a fist-sized hole through his fused mechanical heart. The warlord staggered, sparks and fluids leaking from his ruined torso, then crashed to the deck with a clang of metal on metal. A stunned silence descended on the bridge, broken only by the fading whine of damaged machinery. Slowly, disbelievingly, the remaining Borg-Krill lowered their weapons, staring at the fallen form of their overlord. Verma stepped forward, kicking Krillzak's body over to confirm his death. She looked up, sweeping her gaze across the assembled cyborgs. "Your warlord is dead, and your fleet is in ruins," she declared, her voice hard. But Krillzak was only one leader, one tyrant. Earth's quarrel is not with the Borg-Krill as a people, only with those who would inflict cruelty and oppression on others. She lowered her rifle a fraction. "I offer you a choice. Reject Krillzak's legacy of conquest and slaughter. Help us dismantle the machinery of empire he built, and in exchange, Earth will extend to you the hand of friendship, a chance to build a new future, free from the chains of the past." The cyborgs glanced at each other uncertainly, a low murmur rippling through their ranks. Verma held her breath. This was the critical moment, if the Borg Krill chose to fight on. But then, one by one, the cyborgs began to lay down their arms, the clattering of weapons on deck plates echoing through the chamber. Verma let out a slow exhalation, something like hope kindling in her chest. Above the battered dreadnought, the last Borg Krill ships were surrendering to the victorious Earth fleet, their broken hulls drifting in the starry void. On the Indefatigable's bridge, Captain Nara Singh watched the scene with solemn pride. "This is only the beginning," she murmured to herself. "The beginning of a new era, for both humanity and the galaxy at large. An era of justice, compassion, and unity against the forces of oppression." She opened a channel to the fleet, her voice ringing with quiet conviction. "To all Earth ships, well done. The Borg Krill threat is ended. But our work is far from over. There are countless worlds out there still groaning under the weight of tyranny. Countless species crying out for a chance at freedom." Nara lifted her chin, a fire in her eyes. "So let us go forth into the cosmos, not as conquerors, but as liberators. Let us be the light in the darkness, the hope for the hopeless. Let the galaxy know that wherever the cries of the oppressed are heard, humanity will answer." And with that, the united fleet of Earth set out into the stars once more, bearing a new standard for a new age. A shining blue-white banner emblazoned with the ancient human symbol of liberty. The torch, held high against the darkness of space. A line in the stars. The aftermath of the battle above Erebus Base sent shockwaves rippling across the galaxy. The mighty Borg Krill, scourge of 1,000 worlds, had been defeated, not by an ancient power or a vast empire, but by the tiny upstart species of humanity. In the grand halls of the Galactic Council on the glittering core world of Coruscant Prime, representatives of 100 alien races gathered to discuss the implications of this new development. Some spoke of humanity's courage and selflessness with admiration, others of their martial prowess with fearful respect. But all agreed that the balance of power had fundamentally shifted. "The humans have proven themselves a force to be reckoned with," said Ambassador Zyloth of the Crevely, his robes resplendent in the light of the council chamber. "They stood against the Borg Krill when no one else dared. And in doing so, they have lit a beacon of hope for all who cherish freedom." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled dignitaries, but there were also voices of dissent. "The humans are reckless," insisted the chitinous Krill delegate, her mandibles clacking. "They have made an enemy of the Borg Krill remnants, and their thirst for justice will draw them, and us, into further conflicts. They are not ready for the realities of galactic politics." "I disagree," countered the ethereal Lum emissary, his translucent form shimmering. "The humans have shown wisdom in victory. They did not eradicate the Borg Krill, but offered them a path to redemption. That is the mark of a mature species, one with much to offer our galaxy." As the debate raged on distant Earth, a different kind of council was taking place. In the hallowed chambers of the United Nations, the leaders of humanity gathered once again, this time to chart a course for their species' role in the cosmos. "We have drawn a line in the stars," said the Secretary General, her voice heavy with the weight of destiny. "We have declared that we will not tolerate tyranny or oppression, no matter where or by whom it is practiced. But now we must decide how to uphold that commitment." "We must be cautious," urged the European Chancellor. "Our military might is formidable, yes, but we are still new to the galactic stage. We cannot police the entire cosmos." The African Union President shook her head. "We cannot shrink from our responsibilities. The galaxy looks to us now as a beacon of hope and justice. To turn away would be to betray that trust." "What we need," said the Japanese Prime Minister thoughtfully, "is not just military strength, but moral leadership. We must forge alliances, build institutions, create a framework for galactic cooperation based on the ideals of liberty and compassion. The Secretary-General nodded slowly. A federation of free worlds, dedicated to the defense of sentient rights and the rule of law. It will not be easy, and it will not be without cost. But if we can achieve this, it will be humanity's greatest legacy. And so, with solemn resolve, Earth's leaders set about the work of forging a new order among the stars. They reached out to the Kreveli, the Krill, the Lum, and a score of other species, weaving a web of treaties and accords. They poured resources into aid and development, helping war-torn planets rebuild and oppressed peoples throw off the yoke of tyranny. And they created the charter for a great galactic assembly, a shining city upon a hill for all who yearned for a better tomorrow. At the signing ceremony for the Federation Charter, held on the lush fields of Erebus Base, where the human Kreveli alliance had first been forged, Captain Nara Singh looked out over the gathered throngs, human and alien alike, their faces alight with hope, and felt a swell of fierce pride. "Today marks a new chapter," she declared, her voice ringing out across the assembly. "Today, we declare that no sentient being in this galaxy need ever again live in fear or darkness. That wherever the forces of oppression arise, the forces of liberty will rise to meet them." She lifted the Federation Charter high, letting sunlight glint off its golden inscription. "Today," she cried, "the dream of the Federation is born. May it light the cosmos for generations to come." And with a thunderous cheer, the assembled multispecies crowd hailed the dawn of a new era. An era of unity, of justice, of peace. The era of the Federation of Free Worlds had begun. Guardians of the oppressed. A decade has passed since the Battle of Erebus and the founding of the Federation of Free Worlds. Under the guidance of Earth and her allies, the Federation has grown into a vast, prosperous union of planets, a beacon of liberty and justice in a galaxy too often darkened by strife. But the work of the Federation is never done. Across the cosmos, the forces of oppression still linger, despots and warlords who cling to power through brutality and fear. And so the peoples of the Federation, human and Kreveli, Krill and Lum, and 100 others, stand ever vigilant, ready to answer the call of those in need. On the bridge of the sleek Federation starship Concordia, Admiral Nara Singh watches the starfield drift past, her thoughts far away. In the years since her fateful stand at Erebus Base, she has become a living legend, the hero who broke the back of the Borg Krill and forged an alliance that would change the face of the galaxy. But for all the accolades heaped upon her, Nara has never forgotten the true meaning of her uniform: service, sacrifice, the solemn duty to protect the defenseless and oppressed. A chime from the comm panel breaks her reverie. "Admiral Singh," says the crisp voice of her communications officer, "we're receiving a distress call on Federation emergency channels. It's coming from the Zephyr system." Nara frowns. The Zephyr system is on the fringes of Federation space, a backwater rarely visited by Federation ships. For a distress call to be coming from there, "Put it through," she orders, turning to face the main view screen. The screen flickers, then resolves into the image of a slight furred creature with wide, haunted eyes, a Zeran, one of the few sapient species native to Zephyr. The alien is clearly in distress, its fur matted and singed, its voice shaking as it speaks. "To any Federation ship, please, you must help us," the Zeran pleads. "Our world is under attack by the Scarath Dominion. They came without warning, seized our cities, begun rounding up our people. They say we are to be processed for the glory of their empire. Please, if the Federation stands for what it claims." The transmission cuts off in a burst of static, leaving the bridge crew stunned and horrified. Nara's jaw clenches, a cold fury settling over her. The Scarath, a ruthless, expansionist regime that has long resisted Federation overtures. For them to be invading a peaceful world like Zephyr. "Set course for Zephyr system, maximum warp," she commands, her voice like tempered steel. and put out the call to any Federation ship in range. We moved to aid the Zerans, effective immediately. The Concordia leaps to warp, the stars blurring into streaks of light as the great ship races toward its distant destination. In its wake, a dozen other Federation vessels, human, Crevalle, others, fall into formation, a shining arrow of righteousness piercing the void. They arrive in the Zephyr system to find a scene of devastation. The Zeran homeworld hangs in space, its verdant surface scarred by the fires of orbital bombardment. Scareth warships circle like predatory birds, disgorging ground forces to occupy the shattered cities. But the Scareth have made a grave miscalculation, for now the forces of the Federation are here, and they have come to honor their sacred vow. This is Admiral Nara Singh of the Federation starship Concordia to all Scareth forces. Nara broadcasts, her voice ringing with righteous fury. You are hereby ordered to cease all aggressive actions and withdraw from Zeran space immediately. Fail to comply, and you will be met with the full might of the Federation. The response is a furious salvo of plasma fire from the nearest Scareth battleship, its shields flaring as Federation antimatter torpedoes impact against them in retort. The battle is joined, the void alight with the flash of beam weapons and the flare of exploding ships. But even as her own vessel shudders under the onslaught, Nara's heart swells with fierce pride. This is what the Federation was made for. This is the promise of Earth and all her allies, that wherever the innocent cry out for aid, the guardians of the oppressed will answer. The battle rages, the Federation forces fighting with grim determination against the technologically superior Scareth forces. For each Federation ship destroyed, they exact a terrible toll on the invaders, but Nara knows they cannot win this battle through brute force alone. Get me a line to the surface, she barks, even as the Concordia's hull groans under another brutal salvo. We need to coordinate with Zeran resistance. The view screen wavers, then stabilizes, revealing the grimy, bloodied face of a Zeran rebel, the sound of weapon fire echoing behind her. Federation vessel, this is Commander Sila of the Zeran Free Army. We are mounting a counteroffensive against the Scareth occupiers, but we're badly outgunned. We need your help. Nara nods grimly. Understood, Commander. We'll hit their orbital command center, try to disrupt their chain of command. But to do that, we need you to take out their surface-to-orbit batteries. Consider it done, Sila growls. Just give us an opening. The Concordia and her escorts redouble their assault, drawing the fire of the Scareth warships as daring Crevalle fighter craft strafe the enemy ground emplacements. On the surface, Sila and her rebels launch a daring raid, capturing a battery and turning its devastating power against the orbiting Scareth fleet. In the chaos, Nara sees her chance. All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel. Now. A volley of quantum torpedoes rips through the Scareth flagship's weakened shields, reducing it to atoms in a blinding conflagration. Seizing the sudden disarray in the enemy ranks, the Federation forces press their advantage, driving the invaders back in a fierce, protracted battle. Finally, as the last Scareth warship flees the field, its hull spitting sparks and trailing smoke, a ragged cheer goes up from the tired but victorious Federation crews. On the screen, Commander Sila flashes a weary, triumphant smile. The Scareth are in full retreat, she reports, her voice thick with emotion. Zephyr is free once more, thanks to you, Admiral. The Federation's promise of help. We thought it just more hollow talk, but you came through. You gave us back our home. Nara smiles gently. No one should ever face tyranny alone, she says softly. The Federation is more than just words, Commander. We are a family. Human, Crevalle, Zeran, 1,000 others. Your struggle is our struggle. Your freedom is our cause. As the Concordia assumes orbit over the liberated world, shining ships swooping down to render aid to their battered comrades, Nara looks out at the stars. Stars that, for one more day, shine a little bit brighter with the light of hope, of unity, of an indomitable spirit. The spirit of the Federation of Free Worlds, the spirit of liberty, still stands strong, and as long as brave beings are willing to defend it, to stand against those who would snuff it out, it always will.